The other day, I received an email from my old life as a hair and makeup artist asking me if I was available to do grooming for one of the well-known movie directors I've worked with previously, and I had to inform them that I now live in Japan and referred them to two of my colleagues in San Francisco. It's probably one of the last emails I will get because I've already gradually informed my former clients and colleagues who email me requesting my services. So it does feel a little bittersweet, kind of like saying goodbye, kind of. Today, I'm sharing my personal experience coming out of the spiritual closet into my new adventure, what it was like for me floating and living in two worlds, the spiritual, magical world versus the muggles or the secular 3D material world we recognize collectively as reality. I will share my timeline, the catalysts of events, and my approach of integration versus arrival. In my former profession, I got to work with some of the coolest and most hardworking, badass people in diverse fields. Artists, movers and shakers, writers, directors, tech pioneers. It was a great privilege to share space with everyone who sat in my chair. But I gradually gathered the courage to pull down or release the bridge, like in the medieval times when you release the bridge over the moat. So dramatic, I know, but that's what it felt like. And after I did that, I'm able to discuss this in a more open and explicit way. I feel like all psychics realize they are psychics and have ESP at different ages and stages, and all of us fear judgment from friends and family because we're afraid they may not believe us. I knew I was a little different when I was 3. I just didn't know how to verbalize my experiences. And in my teenage years, I was so wrapped up of being normal or behaving normally, also known as code switching or masking, so that I won't be labeled as odd or strange or having mental illness. Being claircognizant, I don't often see things the way someone who is predominantly clairvoyant, they may see. I only had 1 or 2 incidences when I was little, when I did see Mother Mary and Jesus, but I never told anyone, even my immediate family, until I became an adult, because I thought for sure they would think I'm making it up, or have an overactive imagination, I was lying, or just being weird. I also saw my first negative entity when I was 3. So sometimes I'm glad I'm not more clairvoyant. I would have been more scared. When we are younger, before age 5, even before age 3, our connection to the other side is stronger. So these things might happen more easily. I think I would have been more messed up if I could see otherworldly entities all the time. Kind of like the scene in Constantine where he's on the bus and looking, maybe I'll see if I can find this clip.
I could see things. Things humans aren't supposed to see. Things you shouldn't have to see. My parents were normal. They did what most parents would do. They made it worse.
In this clip, my parents took me to see a psychic teacher when I was 18, and the 3 of us received our readings together from her. And I was so thankful that she confirmed what I knew about myself and gave me helpful guidance and listened to my journey compassionately. She made me feel not weird, as she had many similar challenges being who she is as a young child as well. So I always knew when I was ready, I'd step on a similar path like hers. All in all, I'm grateful to my parents for having the wisdom to take me to the right teacher and counselor at the right time, but also I did go to psychotherapy during my college years, and later on as an adult with our marriage counselor, I went for a couple years, individual counseling and couples counseling. As well, I worked with life coaches, and I wanted to share this because what helped me was trying out multiple healing modalities for my own healing, which is why I'm all for and in support of a multimodal approach. The same way I use both Eastern and Western medicine and spiritual practices. So in my recent past, I worked in the creative community, in advertising, commercial and print, entertainment, and as well as the hospitality industry. You may be wondering, if you knew me back then, why didn't I say anything about this? The thing is, while we're working, like on set or with clients, I would be really glad to engage in topics of astrology or tarot cards, but only if other people on set are already sharing about it with the group. And the primary reason was not because of the topic. I felt that when I'm on set, we should be more focused on the job. And so furthermore, as I feel like my industry, well, I guess it's not unique to my industry. I felt they were flexible about certain things, like very open-minded, creative, warm, and welcoming group of free thinkers. I would just share outside and private if appropriate. But mostly, my personal interpretation of the American work culture, even in the creative industry, still has a strong post-Fordist influence. And what I mean by that is there's an emphasis on specialization, but also bring yourself to work, but not your whole self. As expected, right? That makes sense. And what I mean by this specifically, when I first started out, I had to photograph my own beauty shots to start my own portfolio. And as a mixed medium artist all my life, I thought there was nothing wrong if I wanted to build my business as a portrait or beauty photographer who also does makeup. But as soon as I put that on my card, I was advised to not do both and focus on one. And in many workshops and business classes that I took, we were even advised to separate our advertising, commercial, makeup portfolio with bridal and private clients and keep them separate. And the person who gave me this advice, he was right. Because as soon as I followed his advice and paid for both websites, both aspects of my businesses grew. And this is proof of this post-Fordist mentality that I'm talking about. Things have become more niche. Especially, I worked in the gig economy, and it was expected that I specialized and I bring my personality to work, but only the acceptable parts, whatever that criterion is, because it's a known fact that there will be unknown reasons why you aren't hired back for the same clients. So be authentic, but within an acceptable range of authenticity. So this is my example of how the perception and criterion of what is acceptable is often narrow. So don't show your entire portfolio of yourself. As an artist, just show them the parts of the work that they want to see. And this is not unique to my former industry. It's a general comment. If you have multiple interests, you need to pick one. You need to be an expert in one category and be the best at it. Don't bother doing anything else. And if you, God forbid, have more than one area of interest, you better hide it until you can be a certified expert at the second thing. Or you risk being looked down upon as a jack of all trades. And this is the complete opposite of being welcome as a Renaissance person or polymath with a wide range of knowledge and skills in many different fields. Can you imagine if someone told Leonardo da Vinci he was only allowed to paint and be known as a painter? In modern terminology, we use polymaths or multipotentialites, generalists, or even scanners. These are people with deep intellectual curiosity, a willingness to learn, and who enjoy multiple disciplines. I do feel the pendulum is swinging this way again with the resurgence of the use of polymath versus the formerly derogatory jack of all trades, master of none. This term is thrown around a lot in my former profession. It's only meant as a compliment when it's convenient or cheaper for the production. As an example, instead of hiring both hair and makeup, they would hire one person to do hair and makeup and men's grooming and everything, right? One person. Or the wardrobe stylist, typically a separate category, they would also have to do props, right? It's used derogatorily to imply that your work and portfolio lacks focus and that you're a master of none. However, the idea that one person cannot be an expert in multiple, especially related fields and categories, is a modern social construct. While it is true that our knowledge in science and technology has expanded and fields have professionalized, yes, it is not easy to become an expert in multiple fields, but do you think it was easy to be a sculptor, painter, and architect in the Renaissance at the level the masters were doing it? Of course, those Renaissance artists had to study and with extreme discipline practice their whole life, mastering their skills over time to work in those different categories. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the jack of all trades versus polymath in our current times. Are we still looked down upon, or is it more acceptable for people to learn different skills? I would argue that those who own the means of production, the factory owners, the major corporations, the media, the politicians, who use their wealth, power, and status to influence and create this narrative. Why? Because it's convenient for them. If you are only an expert in your lane, you cannot question their authority, and you fit into a box that they can understand and control. Think about it. This same group of people who really runs the world, they're the ones who make the donations and hire the lobbyists for the politicians who then in turn influence policy and purchase the media, who owns the culture, who creates the culture, like the memes and what's highlighted to our attention through the algorithms. It's a top-down situation. You think it's a left versus right? No, it's a top-down. Even the education systems, they didn't change until the job market, who is dictated or determined by the same small group of the people who own everything. They are the ones who make decisions to hire or fire people. So even with university, right? If you are told you need 2 specialties or maybe 2 PhDs or 2 separate master degrees, think about the tuition money required to get those 2 degrees. Especially in America and how expensive professional schools are compared to other developed countries. So think about who benefits from this modern social construct. I would use the medical profession as an example of how they need to be specialists, but also think like a generalist and research other potential causes and learn about different fields in order to best help their patients. You can always be a specialist, but have a generalist approach. Our society thrives with specialists and generalists, just as our species survive with both neurotypical and neurodivergent people. A healthy society is a balanced and diverse society. My point is we must think critically why this is and who benefits from discounting multi-potentialites and polymaths. What does this have to do with the topic? Well, back to coming out of my spiritual closet story. I was lucky that in my creative industries, there were also a lot of light workers. And so when connecting on a one-on-one basis, it was very easy to come out to those individuals, or rather we would come out to each other kind of thing. While we may be from different categories of light workers or from different lineages, we would be able to understand each other and encourage each other. It was still not something I would readily talk about in public like I am right now. The huge catalyst for me was COVID-19. When the world was put on a pause, and many people, myself included, when faced with a global existential crisis, really started to look inwards and focus on what really matters. Where do I fit in the world? What do I want to do with my remaining time on this planet? How can I live more authentically? We can be gone any day. What are some of the steps I should take on my path? I will tell you that to have the confidence to tell people about my new venture, it really took many years and a lot of throat chakra and solar plexus healing for all that blockages of all the fears and to really step up. I'll give you an example. In the past, when I met new people and they learned that I worked as a makeup and hair artist, their reaction is, "Don't look at my makeup! Don't look at my hair!" They're worried I'm judging them, but I'm like, why would I do that? Am I at work right now? Are you my client? Am I working on you? Like, why would I judge how you do your makeup? Similarly, if you say, actually, I have some extrasensory gifts, they probably like, can you read my mind right now? Are you reading my past lives? Like, why would I? Did you give me permission to read you? Are you offering an energy exchange or payment for me to perform this reading? Why would I invade anyone's privacy like that without their consent? I was afraid of making people uncomfortable if I shared, but now I try to present it simply, and this helped me get over the worry and fear of how the other party might receive this. When appropriate, I'm not initiating this conversation all the time, only when it feels authentic to me. For example, I will share that my ideal client is someone who is ready to take the next step on their personal healing or spiritual journey. I also mentioned that I'm open to working with people who might not have a spiritual or religious practice or do meditation. Just to soften things up, that this is not a religion. Because I feel people get uncomfortable when talking about religion. But think of this example. You don't have to know the exact steps of how a surgeon operates on you to know that your surgery went well, it was successful, it fixed the problem in your body. You just have to believe that going through the surgery will help remedy an issue you had. And if you follow their rehabilitation and lifestyle changes that your doctor prescribes you, it will help you thrive down the road. With psychotherapy, life coaching, or receiving a reading, or divination, or an energy healing session, in contrast with the medical example that I just gave, it is a little harder to measure its efficacy right away. What I can tell you from my personal experience receiving the different healing modalities like psychotherapy, life coaching, and other readings, I've tried them all on my personal journey. What I'm sharing is that I realize how some of these treatments or sessions have helped me sometimes 2 decades later. Yes, you heard that right. It's not always a visible or instant fix. And those of us healers working in the mind, body, and soul space may agree that what we are doing is planting seeds for our clients' wellness journey in the long run. So speaking of journey, this is why my approach to coming out of the spiritual closet is more about integration, not arrival. It's not black and white. Like before I was in the closet, it was a secret, and I have arrived at my destination. I'm stepping out of the closet. It's not a 400-meter race where there's an end and the race is over. I'm only able to stand here today to share openly thanks to the work I've put in over the last 2 decades. Gradually accepting myself and integrate continuously and slowly understanding a graceful way to share, even if someone has completely different beliefs as I do or is not interested in the topic. I hope that makes sense. To summarize, I covered why it was difficult for me to share publicly about the spiritual part of myself and share that it is not easy to come out of the spiritual closet because most of us light workers and healers are afraid of being seen as weird, schizophrenic, psychotic, or receive ostracism, or may not want to relive the witch wound. I'm talking about during the Inquisition and being burnt at the stake or get stones thrown at. Some of us either lived through that era in the past lives or remember what that was like, or remote viewed it and it was traumatizing, or other similar events like that. So we all heal and feel ready at different stages and ages. Since time is not linear, then it doesn't matter if you're ready at 8, 18, or 88. As we get towards the tail end of the year of the wood snake, I also want to lead by example. I'm stepping forward, stepping into the light and out of the proverbial spiritual closet, and shedding my old skin of fear, of doubt, and that older version of me of not accepting my whole self, whole and holy self. So integrating step by step. So yes, if you may be considering a unique present for yourself or a close friend and family member for Thanksgiving or Christmas, I hope you would consider gifting them an energy healing session or an Akashic Records reading for me to help them on their journey. I hope this video helped you in some way about the changes and turns you go through when you're ready to come out of the spiritual closet. Is it necessary to come out? It's up to you of how you want to integrate and feel whole and authentic as a person. This was my experience, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me or DM me. Thank you so much for watching. I love to connect or reconnect. I'll see you in my next video.